So I've been messing about with wires, and I've got the LDRs installed now. So I've now got all the sensors in the station. So it's now time to start playing with station automated trains. But before I do, there were some interesting discussions arose from a video I posted recently where I mentioned short blocks and the issue with caution being very brief because the front of a train passes very quickly through a block that's, say, a double slip. And it kind of led to discussions about blocks and sections. And since to do this station automation, I'm going to have to be creating sections, so that was a good time to discuss them. And what they found out, I think the key thing for me with sections, and one of the major differences between sections and blocks, is sections are a tool really that are used for allocation. So they allow you to join a number of blocks together to ensure that they are allocated at the same time, which is important, and I'll come on to that. However, it doesn't matter how many blocks you put together in a section and which sections are allocated with regard to how signal mass logic works and how danger detection works. The process of detecting imminent danger, whether it's done by signal mass logic, by dispatcher, or by the app that I wrote, is always done on a block by block basis, regardless of how many sections may be allocated and how many blocks may be in a section. So the process of going to caution will always happen when there is an issue 2 blocks ahead, and never happen when there is an issue 2 sections ahead. I'm just going to spend a little bit of time on current section configuration, because it sort of explains what one of the massive benefits of putting multiple blocks in one section is, certainly for me and the stuff I've done. So imagine we've got a little twin pacer unit. It's running around here. It's a manual train, and I've decided they're not set, but say I've set those points to run across the crossover and go onto the outside line, which is the incline, and head off down the hill and around the incline. Now, at the same time as this is running, there is a timer that triggers this train to want to start. And if this train is, say it's allocating 2 blocks ahead, then as soon as it starts, it's going to allocate the line that goes down there. And then there's another line that's there, or another block that starts just down there somewhere. And it's going to do that because they are available and it's happy, and it's going to set off on its journey. At the same time, this thing has made it across the crossover and has headed onto the incline going in the opposite direction. As soon as that happens, as soon as the 101 in the background is set off and this one has entered the incline, we're heading for deadlock. They're going to be allocating blocks ahead of each other, and they're going to come to a point where they're blocking each other and there's no alternate route, and everything will just crash and stop because you've got 2 trains facing head on and no alternate route for either of them. So the way to avoid that is to allocate in sections, group blocks into sections, rather than have individual sections representing individual blocks, because certainly my app, and I'm pretty sure Dispatcher will do this as well, it will only allocate a section to a train if every single block in the section it's trying to allocate is available. So if all blocks but one in the section are available, then it will sit and wait till all of the blocks are available. And so for this train, the first section that it runs starts there, obviously, and runs all the way around the incline, and the outside line just to the left of the class 142 there is the last block in that section, and that comes around to this set of points and it ends here, and I'll get onto why it ends here in a second. Because what that means is that train will not set off unless it has the whole incline allocated to itself, which in turn means this train will not be able to enter the incline because it will be allocated to the 101, and it will only be allowed to allocate those blocks to itself once the 101 has come across this double slip and got onto this line, which means you avoid the head-on. And similarly here, the purpose of that shuttle automation is for the two shuttles to swap. So the one I was just pointing at, the 101, will set off, and once it gets to that last block in its section, it will trigger this train to move. But even though once the 101 has got onto this outside line here, it has triggered the train that's in the bay platform to move, it's still going to sit here and wait. Although it's trying to allocate the next section, and the next section starts with this double slip, and it heads onto this inside line here, and it goes around the inside, across those points, and into the bay platform. So the transit that forms the sections for that train that's leaving what is an imaginary branch platform actually only has two sections in it, and this is the second one. And the reason why this is wholly the second one is because, again, if it's triggered this train and this train started to leave the platform, if it says brilliant, that train's leaving the platform, so I'm going to come this way now, you have exactly the same problem again. It comes as soon as it gets onto this double slip, they are facing each other off and they have no alternative route. So the 101 sits here and it waits for the entire section, starting with this double slip, to be available to it, to be unallocated and unoccupied, which means that gives this train time to start and work its way out, because all the time it's in here, it's occupying this block, and then it's occupying this block, then it's occupying this block. So all the time it's moving out, the train that's sat waiting to come in can't allocate any of the blocks in that section, because it will only do it once all of the blocks in that section are available. So it sits there and it waits, and the train gradually makes its way over here, and it goes onto this line here, and as soon as it's cleared that double slip, then the software realizes that that entire section is now available. It allocates it, or it tries to allocate it, to the 101, and if it's successful in allocating it, the 101, which had sat around here waiting, would then resume, make its way into the platform, while the train that's left this way ends up back there. And as far as the transit that transports this train to the imaginary branch station is concerned, it's actually just one section with all of the blocks in it. And if I come over here, the reason why I did that is the line that it uses. It has to use this clockwise inner line, because if it used that line, then they'd just be deadlock anyway, because they're trying to use the same line. So these two lines are where they pass. And I think what I decided, it could, the transit could be made of two sections, and this could be the second one. However, what I kind of decided was, this is actually the clockwise main line, so there might be a faster train, a manual train running around. So rather than make your way to this point, which is only a couple of blocks away from the bay platform that you started in anyway, and then stop and wait for the incline to become free, which would block a manual train on the main line, it waits until the entire route from the bay platform to the branch platform is available, and therefore I know that it won't be coming around this corner, stopping here, waiting for the incline to be free, and stopping my manual trains from running. And so that brings me back to the automation that I'm going to start working on now, which is what I quite fancy, is having kind of a busy station that has trains coming in, stopping and leaving, and then not necessarily being seen again. Of course, the way I'm going to do that is to have automations that start on the other side in the yard, bring the trains up the hill and stop them in the station, and hopefully the stopping sensors will now mean they stop in a sensible place, sit there and wait for a minute or two, and then get on their way again, go back down the hill, and park themselves in the yard again. And that brings with it an interesting problem that I haven't quite decided how I'm going to solve yet. The issue is that there's obviously only one incline, bi-directional incline, and the line immediately to the right of the incline up on the top deck is kind of what I see as an access line, and it gets trains from the inside two lines, which are sort of the main lines, to and from the incline. Now, for the clockwise trains, that's really easy because there's just a double slip there and they get straight on. For the anti-clockwise trains, it's a little bit more complicated because they need to jump across 4 lines. So they come up the hill here, they go across, in fact, they don't, they come off the double slip and get onto what I kind of call this access line so that they're not blocking the 2 main lines. And then they get around to this point and they're still on this outside line here, and this is their opportunity to get onto the anti-clockwise line. And so they sort of, it means they can do it with minimum disruption to the clockwise line, because all they've got to do is cross the line here. So a train might need to stop for them to cross it, but they cross it, they never run anti-clockwise on the clockwise line, which I kind of thought was important. However, getting themselves back off the anti-clockwise line and onto the access line and back down the hill was a little bit more complicated, just because of space restrictions. Really, I couldn't put all of the slips, points, junctions in that I would have liked to. So as a bit of a compromise, I ended up with the only route from the anti-clockwise line back onto that access line being here, which means when a train leaves the anti-clockwise line, like the class 43, or when it leaves the platform, like the class 43 would do here, it has to go all around the loop again on the anti-clockwise line, come across onto the access line here, go back through the platform, and then head down the hill. But that means that this outside line is quite contentious because it has anti-clockwise trains coming through and possibly stopping, because it's a platform, coming through this way before they head off round that the outside line back to the incline and go down. But it also has clockwise trains coming in this way as well. So again, I've ended up with this one line that has to be managed for mitigating the risk of deadlock. Now, I do have one kind of absolutely bonkers potential solution for this problem, which is, this is the exit of the anti-clockwise station platform here, to put a set of points there, which would be very easy to do because there's a hole underneath the baseboard on the lower ground there, so I could easily get it to put a motor in, so that trains can exit the platform or come around the anti-clockwise line, leave the anti-clockwise line here, get themselves onto a decline here. This will only ever be a decline because it's steep, and these are just kind of these boards are just balanced here. Head all the way down the edge where those boards are of the yard, and then here at the very end of the yard, I would put a set of points in here, which means that the last access line, last yard line is still accessible, but also trains that have come down that decline from the top up there can get themselves back onto the anti-clockwise line on the lower deck. And that would completely remove any contention. It would mean anti-clockwise trains can leave the anti-clockwise upper deck without having to cross any lines. They just disappear, which might make it would certainly make station automation simpler. It would make it less interesting to configure. However, I do think that limitation of having to have anti-clockwise trains pass through that what is essentially clockwise platform before they head back down again is something of a restriction and a limitation. But I'm not sure about it. I think having a decline line right across the front of the yard would be ugly. It would also be quite precarious. I think there'd need to be quite a lot of protection on the edge of these boards. It wouldn't cost me anything. I've got the spare plywood, I've got the spare points and motors, and there are probably a couple of berths on motor boards and on relays to house it all. So it wouldn't actually be a massive amount of effort, and it would be zero cost. I'm just a bit reluctant to do it because I think it would look daft. So if anyone's watching this and has any opinions, I would welcome their thoughts. But in the spirit of always doing the easiest thing first, I am going to configure JMRI with the appropriate sections and transits to start running some kind of automated traffic through the station platforms. I'm just going to try. I realise kind of pointing a camera at various bits of track probably isn't very clear. So I'm going to go quickly through on this panel what I intend to do. So these are the anti-clockwise storage lines here. So the idea is to, well, first of all, I don't want to have to build a full transit for every one of these lines. So what I'm thinking is I will, because a section can contain multiple blocks, I'll create a section that starts with with the exit from the yard. And so if I follow my way around here, of course, the first issue is going to be the incline coming around here, making sure we don't get deadlock. So this is the bottom deck line. I'm not really bothered about it. So actually, this will be the end of the first section. This block around here, because I'm happy for trains to sit and wait here. Oh, sorry, down here actually. Happy for trains to sit and wait on this section of line here, and sort of sat here waiting for the entire um, area of incline that they need to be free. So the first section will contain blocks, or it actually be the second section, from the yard exit to sitting here and waiting, and this is effectively a safe section. It's safe to sit and wait. So then it sits and waits for the entire incline to be free, which includes this little bit of the clockwise line. It needs to be free because it's going to cross it to get up there. So once all of that is free, we will have all of this incline as a, a section. All the blocks in this section will be part of the incline. This double slip will be as well. And again, this is that same line that the 101 sits on. This is kind of where I was pointing at it, parked in this corner here. So exactly the same. I intentionally when I was laying the track here, made sure that this block was big enough to house an entire full train. In fact, it's going to be this one. So the train will come and it will sit and it will wait here because again, it's going to want to cross to the inside line and it's going to want to be in this platform, and there's no point in it going any further than this. I don't want it covering a double slip. I don't want it sitting on the anti-clockwise line and stopping any manual trains that are coming round. So it will sit and wait here on the access line until the entire path from the access line through the double slip, round this little bit and into this platform is free. So that will be the last section. So I've just sat and created a section or a transit, sorry, that gets a train from this AC yard line 1 into the station platform. I described everything I was doing. It was wonderful, and I forgot to press record. So I'm not going to do that again. And also, I was sort of starting to think as I got through it, I'm going to have to repeat this a few times, and it's going to get a bit repetitive. So I'll just gloss over the fact that we already have a transit that gets our train. The purpose again of this train's journey is to get it from the yard line, take it around safely, get it into the station platform, which is here, sit and wait for a bit, then leave the platform and come back down again. There is this added complication with the anti-clockwise lines that once it's sat in this platform, it can't get directly back down because I don't have that little shortcut, that little exit route from the upper deck, sort of coming back down here yet, which I might do, but isn't there yet. So I'm going to do this sort of full logic way. So once it's sat in this platform, what it actually has to do is come around this anti-clockwise line all the way around here, then cross this double slip here, get onto the platform line here, probably stop again because there's no point having trains going through the platforms without stopping, and then make its way down. Now, what I discovered, I think this applied to me in Dispatcher as well, but certainly the way I've written the app, it works. If I have a train, so the full journey is to leave this yard, go up, stop in this, then go around, stop in this, and then go back down the yard. Now, stopping trains mid-transit I think it's possible, but I always had a few problems with it. And if I was to do that with the app I've written, I would have to write more code. But actually, it's not really necessary to write more codes because what I can do is chain transits together.
So actually, what I would do and have done so far is create a transit that gets the train into this platform, and this is the end of that transit. However, at the end of that transit, there is a trigger that says start transit B in 30 seconds, 60 seconds, whatever it is. And that's what these things do down here. So that's the same as having one transit that pauses when it's here and pauses when it's there and takes it back. I could possibly do that in one transit, but it would be exactly the same as having three transits that say come here and stop, then go up here and stop, which is transit B, and then transit C is triggered, which takes it back down in the yard again. So transit A is sort of done, and I'm now going to do the sections for transit um, B. I'm going to create the sections then for what is transit B to get trains from. They'll be sat waiting. Last transit will have finished with them sitting on this platform already to get them to this one. So the first section, and have a look at it. The first section, I'm going to run out of this platform. I'm going to head around the anti-clockwise line, which is here, and I'm going to come around to the double slip here, and I'm going to park it in here. Now there are a couple of considerations that I need to bear in mind, which will um, influence the structure of the sections and the blocks they contain. The first one is fine, it's coming around here, it's coming out, and it's going around the anti-clockwise line. Now, first consideration really is when we get to this set of points which take us over into here, and that consideration is there might be these shuttles. This is kind of where the shuttles are. These shuttles might be running at the same time, so they might well be, going back to the start of the video, a shuttle sat here waiting to get into the bay platform, in which case I don't kind of just want to come through and ride roughshod over it, because if we come past this set of points and there's a train in this station, the our train is going to sit waiting in this bit of track here, which will actually prevent the shuttle from getting into the platform. So our first section will only run to this point here, which is a safe place to stop because the lines might be busy here, and if we stop here, we're blocking as little other traffic as possible. So I'm going to find my thing. I'm going to click add. That's got a name in because I typed it before, but that's good. AC platform to clockwise platform. The first block is the block that the train will be on, which is upper deck AC station platform 1. I'm going to add that block. Now we need to, it needs us to tell it what direction a train would be moving in if it entered our block from various bits. So the first one is AC PCN. Now anti-clockwise, the PC that runs it all is down here, which is why this is called PCN. So over here. So if it was coming from upper deck anti-clockwise PCN, which is this one, into there, it would be going in reverse. And if it came from upper deck anti-clockwise station entry, which is here, it would be going forward. So I need to swap those two around. And that's our first block sorted. Forward sensors and reverse sensors, I think, are possibly only relevant when there's only one block in the section, because they would be sensors on the track that tell at each end of the platform. So if there's a sensor here, and it goes active first, then JMRI knows which direction the train's travelling in because the other sensor's down here and that didn't go active. However, as far as I can see, if there are more than one block in the section, then it can determine what direction the train is traveling by which block went active first. So I'm going to ignore those sensors, and that's our first block in. So when we get an option for the next block, we only get the only block we can add to this section is a block which is connected to the one that we already added. So in this case, upper deck anti-clockwise PC end is the one down here, and that's the one we want because that will get us traveling anti-clockwise. So I'm going to add that block. We then get a few more of these. If we're coming from UD anti-clockwise station, which is actually the station bypass, oops, do accidentally click mouse buttons a lot. That would be going anti-clockwise, and that would be correct. So we will put in here that it would be going forward. If it was coming from AC yard middle, which is down here somewhere, it would be going reverse. So let's It's like that, and that's good. Happy with that. Let's go and get the next block. Again, we can only choose the ones which are connected. This time it would be UD AC yard middle, which is down here, and I'm going to add that. And it's did I do that right? We've got three now. Yeah, done that right. It's there aren't any extra entry points. There's no points or anything, so it's kind of worked everything out for itself, I think. Now this will get us, what's the next block? The next block is UDAC pi PC pi and whatever, which is down here. So we do want to add that one. So there we go, that's added, and it's still because again there are no points. Now that gets us to this point. The end of this block is possibly before this set of points, and that's the end of this section because I want it's fine when it starts here for it to allocate itself everything up to this point, but if it allocates this block as well to itself and ends up having to stop in this block, that's where it's potentially blocking a shuttle from coming in, or indeed a shuttle from going out as well. So it's going to sit here. That's the end of our first section. So I'm going to, in fact, I've realized that is therefore the wrong name for this section because it should be AC platform to AC, let's call it AC holding, which is kind of where it is down here. So I'm going to create that section. And then I'm going to go and create the next section. So we've got a train and we know it's sat waiting down there. So let's call this AC holding with a space to uh, clockwise platform, because actually once it's sat here, it is then only going to embark on the rest of its journey, which would be clogging up this bit of line, then clogging up a double slip if this platform up here is available to it. If there's a train in this platform, it's just got to sit and wait there, and there's no point going any little steps further on and blocking all this. So we're going to sit there till this entire route is free, then we're going to go. So again, same thing, we want the next block. So that will be upper deck, AC station approach, pi end, I think. That's the next block after this one. So it would be the first block of the next section. So I'm going to add that block, and oh, this is going to get complicated because there's a double slip in it or something, I guess. If the train is coming from upper deck anti-clockwise, yard, pi end, which is the one it will generally be coming from, so that's definitely forward. Upper deck AC station, which is there because the block sort of ends here, it would definitely be going reverse. If it comes from the upper deck station double slip, which is actually that one, so AC station was there, but they're both reverse. If it was coming from upper deck AC station entry, which is this block here, which also connects to it, it would still be going reverse. And if it comes from upper deck station approach double slip, which is this one, it can only possibly be going in that direction, which would be forward. First block add-in. Again, we can only now add, that gets us around this bit. So the next block would be the station double slip, which is this one, because this block goes to about here. So it would be this block, which is the next one. So this is going to get even more complicated. Let's add that block and have a look at what directions we need to set here. If it was coming from clockwise station approach pi end, so that's this block, into that double slip and to there it would be going. I know that these aren't necessarily routes we would take, but I think we must be able to join a section from halfway through. So I still need to tell it that would be going forward because it'd be anti-clockwise. Upper deck utility line station platform. If it's coming from the station platform, it's going reverse because we haven't got there yet. And if it's coming from clockwise station, which is the bypass line, that would be going reverse as well. And hopefully that's everything. So that's the double slip sorted. Let's add the block. That went wrong. Why did that get added as well? Can I remove that block? Oh no, do I have to do it again? I don't know why I added that one. I've obviously made a bit of, oh, because I didn't select the right one. And it looks like, of course, there's no undo button, there's no remove the last block. So I'm going to pause this while I fix. What I'm going to have to actually do is clear it all and do it all again. So I'm going to pause this while I do that and resume once I'm there. And by the magic of a pause button, I've kind of created an undo. So this is where I went wrong. I just went, I'd sort of done this, and I thought I was ready, and I clicked add selected block before I'd actually selected which block I wanted the next block to be, which of course is the utility line station platform 2. So I'm going to add this block, and this is the last block because it gets it onto here. We may have some directions to set again. If it's coming from the utility line station approach pi end, which would be around here, it's going forward. And if it's coming from utility line PC end, which is down here, it would be going reverse. I think that's everything. So the last thing I need to do, they're my blocks, because I have stopping sensors here. So the forward stopping sensor is now I did add them at both ends in the end, and this is the reason why. So I want the anti-clockwise forward stopping sensor to be here. So if I go and find my LDRs, there should be LDR utility line platform anti-clockwise stopping sensor, because I don't want the clockwise stopping sensor, because that would be that one, and it would stop in a really awkward place. Now, something that's unique to me, that doesn't apply to JMRI, but I for my app, because I don't use reverse stopping sensors, and I'll come on to why I don't use them later, I use this as the short stopping sensor. So that's how the kind of app reads it. So again, if I go down to LDRs and utility line platform short stopping sensor, that's in there. And that is what, when the train gets to the end of this section, gets to this point, that's what determines where it stops. So I'm going to create that. And that's my, is that two sections? Two sections created. So I'm now going to create a transit, which is kind of what joins the sections together and is the set of instructions for the train to travel to two places. So I create this transit, and there might be one with a very similar name already, but let's call it AC platform to clockwise platform. And here's where we had the section. Now the first section I'm going to add, if I can remember what it was called, which I can't, was, see, I've got a lot. You end up with a lot of sections here. I call it upper deck something? Oh, here we go. AC, AC platform to AC holding. That was it. So let's add that one in, and add it as the next section. And there we go. It gets added there. And so then the next one, fortunately, now the only sections I can add. So, and remember, that's the one that gets it down to there somewhere. So the next one I need to add is the next section that I created. And I think I probably only did two, and this will be AC holding to clockwise platform. So I'm going to add that one as well. And really, that's it. I would mark both of those as safe, because they are, the way I'm creating these sections is it gets them to a safe point where I don't want to go any further until the whole next thing. So marking them as safe seems sensible. But that's it. That's the transit to get the train from there to there created. So now kind of comes the interesting bit, and the reason why I'm really strongly considering putting this escape route from this platform here and a decline down here and sort of connecting to the lower deck. And that is, okay, my train is sat in this platform here, and it wants to go anti-clockwise. It wants to head off in this direction. But actually, if I consider that, say, this class 56 down here is just setting off from the clockwise line in this direction, and it's heading for this platform because I want trains coming in and out of the platform, and that's the only route it's got, blah blah. It comes out here, but as soon as it gets past this set of points, this crossover here, it is on exactly the same route in this direction as my anti-clockwise train is going in that direction. So first consideration has to be make absolutely sure with these trains coming out here that they stop here if there's anything occupied, any block allocated or occupied on the entire route to this platform, when the clockwise train gets here, it has to stop. That's something to consider when I'm doing clockwise. But for the anti-clockwise, okay, there aren't any passing places. So it sets off down here, it comes down here, which is the same route. It comes to this double slip here, it sets off here, and there's risk of a head-on all the way around here, all the way down to here. And in fact, it's only safe, it's only not blocking that clockwise train once it's kind of halfway down here, because it might be a long train, and once this block here is unoccupied. So I can't help thinking, once I've got this far, there's no point marking this safe, because there's no reason for it to wait at this point. It might as well just head off into the line. So for that reason, it looks to me, and I'm not going to sit and film it because I've done sort of adding sections and blocks and things, and I think it would just be the same thing with different block names. But I think its return journey from here to the yard has to be one entire section. It can't set off from this platform and occupy the utility line here, occupy the incline, occupy the route to the incline and a bit of the clockwise track as well, um, unless it knows it can get out again. So for that reason, I think the return journey, well, first of all, I think the return journey has to be one entire section. And secondly, I'm really strongly considering that escape route down here, which completely removes that problem, means my anti-clockwise trains can get straight out of there and come down here, and they're not blocking the route of my clockwise trains at all. Actually, something interesting that's come up here and created. So I went and I created my big section that's got the route all the way from the utility line down to, actually it goes now importantly to the yard entry. So the area down here is the last section in the last block in that section. The reason why I stopped it there was I thought, I've got 4 lines here and I've just created a great big long section with all these blocks, and I had to set all the directions and do all that stuff again for it all the way down. And I thought, I really don't fancy doing that 4 times. One for line 1, one for line 2, one to finish in line 3, and one to finish in line 4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use alternates. So I'm still going to set, this is the first section in the transit, and it gets it to there. So I'm going to add, I've got a section called AC yard line 1, and that section contains the 3 blocks that make up that grey line there, AC yard line 1, the one that's going down there. So I'm going to add that as a section. In fact, that's the last section because you can stop at the end of that. But what it's given me here is giving me options for alternate sections. So as an alternate to, remember it's at this point, as an alternate to going down yard line 1, I'm given the option to go down yard line 2, which presumably means if yard line 1 is full, have a look at yard line 2 and see if that's any good to you. So I'm going to add that as an alternate section. But I've got a feeling it's going to let me add multiple alternate sections. So perhaps instead of yard line 2, if we come down here, it will let us add yard line 3 as an alternate section, and therefore, no surprises, also add yard line 4 as an alternate section. Now, this is quite interesting to me, and it hadn't really crossed my mind until I started creating this transit. But what I really like about this, and it's not implemented in the code, presumably it's implemented in Dispatcher, and Dispatcher would do this, but what this is saying effectively is take the train down to this point and then decide where to park it yourself based on which line is available, which would cut down on a lot of kind of mental decision making on my part when I want to run the transit and say, okay, which one's it going to, work out which line, okay, that one. Just take the line, take the train from that line and park it in one of the yard lines that's free. I like the idea of that. And last in the JMRI bit, but by no means least, nothing gets auto-saved. So after I've sat all that time creating all those sections and working it all out and creating the transits, file, store, yes. And preferably keep a backup of those files too.
It feels like that's a good place to stop because I think I've sort of finished covering sections and transits. I sit downstairs, by the way, do all that stuff. I use VNC remote desktop software for reasons I went into kind of in the last video. I really wouldn't fancy being stood there using a mouse pad and keyboard. So I get remote control of the computer and I do it all sat at the comfort of my desk with a real mouse. I think it's a good place to stop, just because I need to move my head on now. I need to get into the chord and handling alternate routes, which was not something that was remotely in my head when I started making this video a couple of hours ago. So in order to do that, I think I need to get all of this finished, get the video edited while it's all in my head, and then I can let all that go out of my head and start thinking about how I implement this in the app that I'm writing.